Good morning. I'm trying to get back, Kevin, if you would turn that down just a little. You go, turn it down just a little bit. Trying to get back down to the swing of things. They had to go find me. Told me to come out here. I said, why? They said, it's time to start. I said, oh, okay. But it is good to see everybody this morning. 9:30. Seems funny, doesn't it? Seems good. I was just talking to Beth back in the nursery. She said it just seems so good to be back in and get the church feeling like people are in it. And I agree. We all need to be in here, and those that are listening, we appreciate you being tuning in also. Just a few quick announcements. Today, the care team will meet at 2:30. 2:30. We haven't had an opportunity to meet in quite a while. Meet right here in the fellowship hall at 2:30. And also, of course, we resume next Sunday morning, also same time, 9:30 for Sunday school, and Wednesday night, 6:30. Mark will be leading that, and good study. So please try to be here at 6:30 if all possible on Wednesday night. Our children's church, we're going to try to get a children's church established and started, and Brenda's kind of heading that up. So if you'd like to assist with the children's time during our worship service, please see her or see myself or Pastor Dave, and we'll make sure that you get plugged in on that. Also, I have a note. This is from Brinley. She, of course, had the bad accident with being burned, and she's doing much better, but still needs our prayers. And this is a card from her. Dear Olyphic Church family, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the kindness shown to me and Justin during this time. The love offering, the calls, the visits, the texts, and especially all the prayers are all appreciated. Words cannot express the gratitude we feel to have such caring friends and church family. We love you all, and please continue to keep us in your prayers. Of course, that's from Rennie and Beck. She's with Susan, right? I thought she was staying there. So we do need to thank you for that card and continue to remember her in prayer. We have several birthdays and anniversaries for this week. Today, the 20th, Allie Buck's birthday. Our pastor and priest's anniversary is tomorrow. Happy anniversary. Also, guess whose birthday it is on Tuesday? It's mine. 21. Yes. 22nd. That's myself, and also Tom and Jeanette Leary's anniversary. 24th, Dr. Wayne Brown's birthday, and also Christopher Gore, Chloe Willard's, Rick Gargetska. He always gets his name comes up. And Greg Wheeler's on the 26th, Lot on the 24th. Any other birthdays or anniversaries? Mine either. Anthony's going to be teaching us, and the adults will stay in here. And then, of course, we have our classes that are already divided out. And we'll be, I guess, Anthony dismissing a few minutes early so as people come in. Is that what I understood? Something like that, yeah. And then we'll have our worship service after. But it is good to see everybody. And Jim, would you lead us in a short prayer before we? Yeah. I'd like to welcome y'all to the religious church. It's been a long time since we met. You want to give a little praise and honor for that. So everyone can say, no problem. Mr. Thomas, can you lead us in prayer, please? All right, we're going to get started with a lesson. Kevin throws one on me. I did not know that Sunday school was going to be aired, and he says, here, you got to wear this. I wasn't expecting that, so now he got me where I'm hot up here. So anyway, if I fall out, somebody can get me a sip of water from somewhere. But our lesson today is honor our parents, and it starts off in Exodus chapter 20 and verse 12. When you think about honoring parents, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? I mean, hey, and I want y'all to talk. This is how we've been having Sunday school. The ones that's been in our class know that we talk and discuss things. So you got something to say, spit it out. And that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. But what happens, and today's lesson is a good example of what happens when things go wrong in a family. Okay not to honor your parents when that happens? No. No. And there's many examples. And in David's family, we're going to see that. The preacher started on it last Sunday. We're up on the roof. He gave us the base ground level for this lesson. And so we're going to dig into it a little deeper today. And the lesson today, the point of our lesson is honor your parents is seen in our words and our actions. How many times have we seen somebody act real nice towards somebody, but their words cut them and hurt them? You know, what actually happens is most of the time your actions speak louder than words. But the words, think about a word. Have you ever said anything to somebody and wish you hadn't said it? Can you get those words back? Can't get it back. Now, it's hurtful. You can make up for it. You can say, I'm sorry. I wish I hadn't said that. I want to take it back. You know, I think about the Andy Griffith show when Ellie wanted to run for city council. And Andy thought it was absolutely silly. Well, that made Ellie mad. And he made the excuse, oh, that's one of those slippery words. It just slipped right out. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get it back. And then he would get to talking with her and it'd slip out again. Words hurt. You can take away all the action you've done with just mighty few words, sometimes only one word. Our life connection is family relationship.
speak of the difficulties that often occur within families. God calls us to rise above such conflicts, particularly in relation to in spite of how we may feel about our father and our mother at any given moment. God calls us to always treat our parents with honor. He says that they deserve. It's not what they say they deserve. God says our parents deserve that honor. Now, does that mean that I can never get upset with my parents? Does that mean I can't disagree with my parents? So, getting upset or disagreeing with the parents is not wrong, but it's how you treat them and what you say to them that gets you in trouble. Now, do you think today's generation honors their parents very much? And, you know, this isn't even in our lesson, but I can't help where I want to start from. I got to go otherwise from the lesson. Do you think that America as a whole honors their parents and their elders? Okay. Do you think America as a whole honors the unborn? No. Now, how can you teach a child to love you when you don't show the child that's alive that you honor a life that's not unborn? That's unborn. So, our job as adults is to show children that everyone, from the smallest to the greatest, is of the same value. Do it. They say that a child that's not born doesn't know anything. When did God say that He knew us? Before we were ever formed, He knew us. What is a He knew us before we were ever formed in our mother's womb. He knows everything about us. God sees everybody as important. Does it mean that anybody is any less or more important than each other? No. Everyone with God is equal. The difference comes in is if whether you accept Him as your Savior or not. But whether you do or you don't accept Him as your Savior is a personal choice. And even the folks that do not accept Him as their Savior deserve honor as parents. What did the Jewish law say about honoring your father and mother? It go well with us. The Jewish law, what was the requirement of the Jewish law? It was your duty under the Jewish law to take care of your mother and father no matter what they needed. That was physically or financially or any other kind of way that they needed help. Now, did the Jew want to do that? And why in the world, if the Jewish people didn't want to do that, they were God's chosen people, why in the world would God expect me to do that? Did the Jewish people try to make an excuse for that? They did. We get here, I'll read our first verse. It's in Exodus 20, verse 12. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may have a long life in the land that the Lord God is giving you. Now, we read it in other translations. You read it here out of the King James, and it says, we read it in other translations. You read it here out of the King James, and it says, honor your father and thy mother, that the days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God has given you. Now, who is it that don't want to live long? I mean, I think about it now, I get right depressed. I mean, I'm 55 and I'm thinking, man, I'm more than halfway for sure. I'm probably 2/3 of the way. But, you know, and I hope that I done a good job. I think about that. I hope I done a good job honoring my father and mother. I mean, I think about sometimes when I disagree with it. I think about times that we had an argument. I think about the times that I just couldn't see it their way. I couldn't agree with them, but did that mean that I didn't love them? Did that mean that I didn't honor them? You know, they reached a point, and some of you are going through that now. That reached a point that they really needed my help. They had doctor visits. They had to be at the hospital. They needed to be taken to town. You know, people say, well, I just can't sacrifice that kind of time. I can't do this, I can't do that. Have you ever just stopped and thought, how much time did they sacrifice on you? What did they do without for you? How many times did they want the latest thing, but because of you, they didn't get it? Or they wanted to take a trip, but they couldn't afford to take a trip because they were going to do something for you. Honoring your mother and your father is or should be, not a burden, but it is a great honor. It is an honor that is given to each and every one of us. If you're here, you had parents. When you go to the cemetery out there and you lay your loved ones to rest, then is that the end of your job of honoring them? And Miss Martha alluded to that earlier. She said that she gets on there and comments on her whole family. You can honor your mother and father. Do you think that the actions that you take today and the things you do today is a way of honoring your parents? Do you think that people would say, Mr. Vault raised a good man? Is that honoring your mom and dad? Yeah. If they say, well, Alan and Miss Carolyn went mind blank there for a minute. They done a good job raising Chris. Now Chris hasn't done anything, can't said a word, can't done anything, but is that a form of honoring your mom and dad? He's living a life that it shows how Mr. Allen and Miss Carolyn raised you. We raise children. That's why it's very important that you train up children in the way that they need to go. What does the Bible say about training up a child in the way it should go? When he gets old, he will not depart from it. Now, have I seen it a long time for people to have to come back around? And I get the one, but they still come back around. That's a promise that God gives parents. If you train up a child in the way he goes, that he won't depart. So, in saying that, we as Christians have a job to do when it comes to honoring our parents. It's without excuse. The Jewish people in those days wanted to try and escape that. And how they done that was they would sell their possessions. And then they would say, I give it to the Lord. Does people try to do things like that today? Well, I can't do this because of this reason. The Jewish people wanted to be out from under the burden of taking care of their parents, so they figured, okay, God can't hold me responsible because I'm going to sell my possessions and I'm not going to keep the money. I'm going to give it to God. Does that excuse them from doing what they were supposed to? That was just a trick. They tried to manipulate the system of that day, that they would do that. And in their mind, they felt they were okay. But really, they weren't doing anything. Did it do them any good to give away all of their possessions in sale and then just give it to God? Absolutely no good at all. It didn't do them any good. We're going to move on into our second section. 2 Samuel chapter 15, verses 7 through 12. Now, does anybody want to give us the background of what has took place here? Does anybody know what took place in David's family at this point in time? Ammon had raped his half-sister. Now, can you imagine what's going on? You got stepchildren, you got half-brothers and sisters, and one of them decides to rape his half-sister. Now, Absalom was the girl's whole brother, and he was infuriated. So, not only do we have rape, incest, now I won't have murder in on top of it. Now, all of this took place because of what? Why did all this take place? The message we heard last Sunday about David up on the rooftop. Now, if David had done what he was supposed to have done that night, chances are all this wouldn't have took place. Now, how in the world, with this going on, how in the world do you expect David to love Absalom? How do you expect Absalom to honor David? Does that excuse either one of them from loving each other and honoring each other? Now, can you think of any worse situation that a family could possibly be in? You got half brothers and sisters that he's raped her. You got the whole brother of the sister that got raped murdered the half brother that raped her. Now, how would you like to be that far? We're going to get to that too. He's making plans to do just what Miss Martha said. Is that showing honor to David? If that took place in your family, would you be outraged? I'd be mad. I'd be just probably like ass. No, it weren't. So life can get us in some tough situations. Does that mean that we're supposed to forget what we're supposed, as Christians, what we're supposed to do? Are we supposed to just say, well, I'm mad with Jim. He's made me mad. I don't never want to speak to him. I hope nothing don't happen to him, but I'm not going to speak to him. I'm going to leave him alone. Is that the right attitude? What is the right attitude? Pray for it. Okay. We're talking about honoring our father and our mother. And that's very important. But what is the most important thing to do in all of these situations? Honor God. Now, can you honor God if you don't honor your mother and father? Can't do it, can you? Number one. I mean, that was one of the 10 commandments. Is honor your father and mother. Now here we see Absalom. Do you think the only person in this whole scenario could have been the girl that got her? She hadn't done any ill will to anyone. I looked and I searched and I couldn't find where she done anything. It didn't say that she hated her brother and she loved her whole brother. What do you do in those situations? Mr. Johnson said, pray. How could you forgive somebody of that? How in the world could Absalom forgive Amnon for raping his sister? How in the world could you do that? Think about it today. If someone raped someone in your family, how could you forgive me? Yeah. She was ruined as far as that was going. Right. They looked at her as unclean from the rest of her life. So really, essentially, he just as well killed her in a way of speaking. So in this, we see how life can get so complicated. And sometimes we as human beings want to get mad and say, I'm just not going to handle it no more. I'm not having nothing to do with those people. If I don't do nothing and don't say nothing, I can't get in trouble. But can I really live a Christian life with that attitude? No. Next question. Can I really honor my mama and father with that attitude? Most important question. Can I honor God with that type of attitude? God gives us a recipe on how to fix that. How many times did he say we were to forgive our brother? Yeah. Now, if my math is correct, that's 490 times. So, how many times have I ever forgiven somebody at the same thing in a day? One time you might get me to do that. Second time I might say, okay, I'm really not okay with that. But the 7 times 70, really God's saying no matter how many times they do that to you, forgive them. That is what he wants us to do. That is the recipe for life that he has given. We see here in verse 7, it says, when 4 years had passed, Absalom said unto the king, please let me go to Hebron to fulfill a vow that I made to the Lord. For your servant made a vow when I lived in Gusher of Aram, saying, if the Lord really brings me back to Jerusalem, I will worship the Lord in Hebron. Go in peace. The king said to him, so the servant went to Hebron. Then Absalom sent agents throughout the tribes of Israel with the message, when you hear the sound of the ram's horn, you will say, Absalom has become king in Hebron. 200 men from Jerusalem went with Absalom. They had been invited and were going innocently, for that they did not know the whole situation. Now, I'm sure that everybody in Jerusalem knew what had happened in David's family. I mean, you think about it. David had some real tragedy. He had an outside of the marriage affair, had a child that died. He's had a child that got raped by her half-brother. The whole brother of the girl that got raped killed the half-brother. David's had a mess. And now Absalom is leaving. He's running. He thinks David's going to kill him. He's running. But in the meantime, he's making himself look innocent. He's making a plan, and he invites some of the people to come with him. Some of David's men, he invites them to come with him. And he says, when you hear the ram's horn, Absalom has become king. They innocently go right along with him. There's about 200 of them, it says, that go with him. Now, with such scheming and all of this, was all this being handled the right way? No. Now, let's back up and let's just take it on today. Here in 2020. If a conflict comes up in a family and Doesn't matter if they all Christians or they're not. What are you supposed to do? If the conflict comes up and you can't get along, there's no way to reach a decision. What are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to just leave it alone? Are you supposed to just cut it off and say, well, I don't know that? Am I supposed not to love them? How can now, if that person won't reconcile with you in any kind of way, what do? Still love them. Still pray for them. Ask God to help them. Ask God to help the situation. But what if God don't help the situation? Is our hands clean then? We've done everything we can do. But we're still supposed to love that person and want the best for them. Comment, but I walked away because I was going to get fired if I didn't. So, but does that mean that I got the right to hate that person? We, as Christians, do not have any right but to do what God tells us to do. Has anywhere God give us permission to just say, I've done everything I can do. I can't stand that person, and I'm going to stay away from them. Yeah, love your enemy. Okay, is that an easy thing to do? No. What about the abusive parent? Is them beating on us, or verbal abuse, or mental abuse, does that excuse the child from not honoring that parent? Now, does that do what? Yes, sir. Now, is at some point in time, the best way sometimes to honor somebody is to back completely away out of the picture and just pray for their well-being. You got to do that sometimes. If my parents had beat me to the point that every time they see me, they just beat me for no reason, that still wouldn't have excused me from honoring them. I might need to get away from them, but I'm still supposed to love them and pray for them. So all this that had gone on in David's family, did that give any of them the excuse for the way they were acting? None whatsoever. It didn't give them any excuse. Could they have worked this out? It would have been hard. That would have been a tough situation. You've had murder and rape in the same family. But the next question is, anything impossible with God? Okay. Nothing is impossible. So in saying that, is there any situation that has so many tangles and twists and knots? Think about it. You're in a hurry and somebody says, go get me this rope. Eddie knows what I'm talking about. And they're going to use it for a tagline, and it's all tangled up. It never fails. It's always straight until they start rushing. And then it's got 400 knots and twists in it. Life is that way. Is anything so complicated that God can't straighten it out? Nothing. Now, David was a man after God's what? Own heart. With that being said, do you think that Absalom didn't know that? Do you think that Amnon didn't know that? The girl Tamara, she didn't know that? They all knew that. But why couldn't they get together and work this out before Amnon got killed? Absalom knew how his father was. He knew that his father was Jeff. David should have done something from the get-go. He's thinking, what can I do? This is my home family. No matter which way I turn, I'm going to hurt somebody. What am I going to do? So what did David decide to do? Nothing. Now sometimes we think doing nothing might be the best thing. Is that always right? Let me ask you, if you, I hate to even say it this way, but I'm going to say it. If you get sick with a bug of some sort, one time I thought I was going to die. I had food poisoning. I didn't know that. Tracy was trying to take me out. No. Me and Daddy had been fishing down at the creek. And I went to Roscoe's. We got crickets. We already dug worms. I bought me a smoking Joe sausage sandwich, heated it up. We run to the creek, throw the boat in. I still ain't touching the sandwich. I bait my hook. I get my hook in water. That's the most important thing. I got the hook in water. Then I reached in the creek and done my hands like that. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm clean. I ate the smoking Joe sandwich and kept on fishing. Saturday night, about 11 o'clock, boy, I feel bad. I was supposed to do Sunday school that morning. Sunday morning, I said, I ain't going to make it. By about 1 or 2 o'clock, I was doubled over the floor. I said, what in the world was wrong with me? Sunday, about 11 o'clock, I forgot. I can't remember if she went to church or anyway, I wound up driving to the beach, the Irving chair. I said, I'm all right. I'm good. Man said, you got somebody to drive you? I said, oh, yeah. I got somebody to drive me. He didn't ask you it, was he? Just asked. I'm going to drive myself. He gave me a shot. So I told him the truth, I did. He gave me a shot. And I'm thinking, I need to get on home pretty quick. From the turn at number 9 to the house, I know that. And I woke up, it was Wednesday. Well, I don't know what it gave me. But it cured me. I got me the best rest I ever had. But in saying that, if I had not took care of that, what would have happened to the food poisoning? Would I got over it? I don't know. It was mighty severe, I know that. When things go wrong, you got to do something about it. Doing what David done don't work. How many of you's ever had your car tear up and say, I believe I'm going to park it in the yard to fix it? Does it do that? Water pumps at your house, do they do that? There's some action that has to be taken. Nothing fixes itself. That goes on with family, relationships. The most important relationship won't fix itself is the one with God. Now, God can break you and humble you to the point that you got to do something. But He's not going to force you. He's not going to drag you by your back in your shirt and drag you down the aisle. That's on you. God will let you know that you need to do that. Do you think that David knew that he needed to do something? But because of all the problems that was needed right in that family, was that going to be a touchy and sticky situation? How was he going to correct what had took place? Just as Miss Martha mentioned, that lady in that day and time and culture, her life was over. Yeah. Yeah. He weren't going there to worship. He's going to make plans. He said, I'm going to take him out and I'm going to be king. So, in saying that, in Absalom's way of thinking, does two wrongs ever make a right? So if they had all, a bad injustice had been done, but if they had took the right avenue to begin with, could this have been worked out? In every situation, is there anything that we can get involved in that God can't straighten out? Now, sometimes we may not like the route that God chooses to straighten it out. It may cut your toes to get it straightened out. But when we let stuff lie like that, and we let stuff go undone, what happens? What do we do? What was the title of our lesson? Honor your parents. All right. Can you honor your parents when you let stuff go on like that? Can you honor God when you let stuff go on like that? So with just one little incident, yes sir. Okay. Now, you said that, and we were going to try to get to something to that point, but that brings it right up. We may think that one small little action that we do doesn't have any consequences on anybody else but ourselves. Now, when David had an affair with Bathsheba, what did he do? Number one, he dishonored God. Number two, he dishonored his parents. He dishonored his wife. He dishonored his children. And the list keeps going on and on and on. How many times have you heard people make the comment, I'll do what I want to, it don't bother nobody but me? Is that a true statement? People that drink make the statement. They say, well, I'm not hurting nobody but myself. That's not true. They're hurting everybody. They're hurting everybody that's involved. The people that do the drugs, same thing. The people that get out, lie, steal, cheat, same thing. How do you think that when these people go to jail for whatever they've done, how does it make God feel? How does it make their parents feel? How does it make their children and their spouses feel? They've honored nobody. None whatsoever. Here in verse 12 it says, while he was offering the sacrifice, Absalom sent for David's advisor, Ahithophel, the Gilonite, from the city of Goliath. So the conspiracy grew stronger, and the people supporting Absalom continued to increase. Now, Absalom has got this thing rolling, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Is any of this going to do any good? Not a thing. I mean, he killed David, but was that God's plan for Absalom to kill David? All this got spun out of one thing. And David was up on the roof with the preacher preached about last thing. If David had done the right thing, he would have honored everybody. But we know that Absalom came back, and Miss Martha mentioned that David had forgiven him, and they started working things out. Listen, those things, remember, honor God first. In all things you do, honor God, honor your father and mother. And you know, it's funny. When you do that, it's easy for the children that's watching you to learn how to honor you when you get to that point. If you're a bad person in honoring people, how can you expect them to? Sometimes you see people that not treated right, honor people the right way. But for the most part, it doesn't work. If you don't teach a child to honor and respect others now, how can you expect him to do that later? Anyone else got anything? I thank y'all for all your help, and we'll have Miss Teresa, I think, next Sunday. So y'all study up and help her out. All right, thank y'all.